Welcome to the Herbal Constituents Comprehensive Course. I'm Lisa Ganora, author of Herbal Constituents, Foundations of Phytochemistry, founder of the Colorado School of Clinical Herbalism, and I specialize in functional phytochemistry.
And I'm Kat Martello. I'm a Bastyr herbal science graduate. I have experience in herbal apothecaries, dispensaries, botanical analysis laboratories, and several interdisciplinary medical clinical settings as a licensed massage therapist and certified nursing assistant. Thank you for joining us on this exciting journey through the realm of plant science, where we decipher the codes of medicinal molecules with a clear, engaging, and clinically grounded approach. Early registration is open, and the course begins in September. Lisa, who would you say this Herbal Constituents course is for?
Dare I use the word nerd? Just kidding. I designed this course to be relevant to clinical and medical herbalists and advanced herbalism students, any kind of holistic practitioner who's interested in understanding how medicinal plants work in a clinical context, pharmacists, formulators, medicine makers, and herbal product developers.
Humans and plants have co-evolved for a long time. We need to care for our environment, support and grow our pollinator plants, as well as our edible and medicinal plant allies. In support of optimal health, we must have a right relationship with and embrace a variety of plants for our broad spectrum health. In this course, we keep a pulse on current scientific research, which contributes to modern understandings of our ancestral knowledge. We know plants have intelligence, and within their varying cellular matrices contain molecular signals that they generate in response to their environment. Join us in exploring the wide terrain of overviews and intricacies of these plant realms. We will learn how to hone our skills in discerning quality when we evaluate products, make medicine, and bring integrity in herbal pharmacy. We will learn how to best extract the targeted synergistic array of constituents to honor these botanical characters by understanding solubility, polarity, and extraction. Hey Lisa, why do you think herbal constituents matters?
Oh my goodness, it's a big question, isn't it? You can be a great herbalist without understanding chemistry as our ancestors were. However, it gives you another level of insight into how these plants are working. And it can be very useful, not only for helping you to understand how to use them clinically, but also how to formulate with them and how to bring forth the desired constituents and your desired actions and energetics by understanding how those are grounded in the chemistry of the plant. You can become a better medicine maker and product developer if you understand the phytochemistry of herbs. It's also fascinating on an energetic level to see how those phytochemicals act as signals, patterns of energy that act as signals to communicate information to our network of cellular receptors that adjust physiology and make changes to our health. So understanding constituents is very helpful for developing your skills as a clinician, as a practitioner, and also as a medicine maker, formulator, or pharmacist who wants to understand how these medicinal plants really are working from the inside out.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. I'm grateful for that perspective. Molecules are signals. It was very helpful in my understanding of the material.
Let's take a look inside the course. I want you to see how it's organized, where the bits and pieces are, what happens every week, and how in-depth it really is.
All right, let's dive in.
When you first get in, you see the course orientation material. We have videos, we have audio files. You can download and save any of these or watch them online, lifetime access. A bit of introductory bio material about me and how I got here from being a traditional herbalist wildcrafting in the woods of North Carolina. Your outline and objectives walks you through the structure. And let's look in here. These are the course downloads where you find your detailed schedule and syllabus for both the first and second semesters, in case you're interested in looking at that. And your course booklet, very useful, 210 pages of study guides that go with all the videos, handouts, and other helpful material like lists of constituents, constituent solubility, etc. Very extensive. You can save that, print it, and your link for your admin help is in here. And that brings us to the week 1 material. So this is an introduction to herbal constituents and botanical medicine, what they are, why they matter, why we need to understand them. Some very interesting intro to phytochemicals, videos and audio files, and then a PowerPoint deck. You get that with every week. The colors of vitality is the topic here. These are phytochemicals in our foods and herbs that you can actually see. We're using our organoleptics to understand the constituents. There's a weekly assignment, which you can ignore, or if you would like to get your certificate of completion, you can do the assignment. And we focused on making those interesting real-world applications of what we studied that week. You also have your readings and handouts, the readings from the Herbal Constituents books, and the handouts that go with each week's material are found inside each week. Maybe some suggested extra readings if you're interested. And then we have our weekly quizzes. If you're like me, you love quizzes, and these quizzes are designed as self-assessment, reinforcement tools for the concepts. You take them, they tell you what you got wrong, what you got right. You can take as many times as you want to. And they're basically practicing the material. We don't record the grades or anything like that. But the questions that are on the quizzes do accumulate and show up at the end of the semester as the final, which again, if you want to get your certificate, you can pass the final exam with those questions that you've been practicing all along. Week 2 and week 3 go into the foundations of phytochemistry. This is where we actually look at some structures, what those line drawings mean. So we look at some interesting 3D modeling of different phytochemicals. We talk about the patterns or the architecture, what sorts of atoms are in there, how those patterns of atoms that are in a relationship called bonding carry information. They're patterns of energy, those are signals. Phytochemicals are signals that carry information from a plant to the human body, react with our cellular receptors, our nervous system, etc., to bring about some kind of physiological change. It's a very relationship-oriented way of looking at phytochemistry. Not a lot of equations, and I try to bring together the most important points that help us understand what we're really looking at and talking about when we talk about phytochemicals. So there's some good basic stuff in there about bonding, about polarity and solubility, and how the functional groups of a phytochemical affect their solubility, and therefore how much of them will show up in different sorts of herbal products. Okay. We continue that theme with week 3. And again, you can see each week has the study guides, the videos, the audio files, listen away from your computer, the assignments, readings, and quizzes. In week 4, we get into a really important concept with botanical medicine, which is synergy. Synergy is defined in various ways, but a plant is complex, right? It's not just 1 or 2 molecules that we might see, like in an aspirin, for example. We have the active constituent, maybe a few excipients, etc. In a plant, you can have hundreds to thousands of bioactive constituents. What are they doing in there to manifest that actual herb, its actions, its energetics, solubilities, etc.? Botanical medicines are actually quite a bit more complex than pharmaceutical medicines when we look at them from this perspective. And understanding how synergies work is really important for understanding how the phytochemicals contribute to the medicine of the plants. We spend a bit of time on that, looking at the different types of synergy, positive synergy, attenuating synergy, enhancing synergy, protective synergy, antioxidant synergy, stabilizing synergy. There's a whole lot of different things going on in there. When we explore synergy, it really helps us to understand how our medicinal plants work and how to approach them differently than we might approach pharmaceuticals. Week 5 is when we get into variability. Variability is super important to understand when you're working with botanicals, because plants are living dynamic systems and they are adapting to conditions with their chemistry. That chemistry is always to some degree changing, sometimes dramatically, sometimes less so, but understanding what causes variability in the phytochemical profile of the plant really helps you to understand how and when and why or why not to harvest certain plants to make medicines with them. Or if you're not a hands-on medicine maker, it can help you understand the quality of the botanical products and supplements you use. Developmental factors, environmental influences, growing conditions, climate, different plants from different parts of the world, even though they're the same species, might have different constituents. And the phenomenon also of standardization, where we try to guarantee a certain amount of activity in standardized herbal products. And that's an important concept to understand too, because standardization can mean a lot of different things. And so sometimes it can be a good thing, sometimes it can be a cover up for substandard material. So we get into that quite a bit too. Measure readings, handouts, quiz, etc. Then we move into the next series of classes, which is directly applicable to herbal pharmacy, to medicine making, and to understanding your extracts and your herbal products, dietary supplements, etc. Polarity, solubility, and extraction. What's behind the curtain about which constituents come out into which herbal products, how to get certain constituents and maximize the extraction or leave behind other constituents that you might not want, how to select for different constituents with different kinds of solvents, such as water, hydroethanolic solvents or tinctures, glycerin, honey, oils, etc. We look at non-toxic solvents for medicinal plants, the influence of polarity, which is an important concept to understand. That's one of the main influences on solubility, but it's not the only influence on solubility. We also look at the methods and how that affects the quality of your herbal products and your extractions. This is process-based medicine making or method-based medicine making, which goes beyond recipe-based medicine making. So we're looking behind the curtain to see why we do things a certain way and how could we adjust those processes to end up with a more robust or concentrated or delicious or functional herbal medicine. These are very practical insights that you get with medicine making here. Precipitation, why did I mix these tinctures together and now there's white goo floating on the bottom of my bottle? What's going on there? Compatibility within formulas is also a topic that this is relevant to. What about things like pH, temperature, agitation, pressure, etc.? How does that influence your extractions? Lots of handouts with that one. And we continue that theme with oils and salves and topical applications. Body butter might sneak its way in there a little bit, antioxidant sun butter. And then we wrap up our solubility and extractions unit with week 9, where we have a bit on cannabis extraction as a medicinal herb, actual medical cannabis, as it was made in the 1900s by pharmacists and physicians, and as it was in the United States pharmacopoeia at the time, and how you can formulate with it and adjust your extractions to feature different sets of constituents in the plant. It's not all about cannabinoids. There are important synergists there too. We wrap up our medicine making or herbal pharmacy unit with that. And then we move into a really important concept, the hierarchical organization of constituents. What are the major groups? What are the subgroups? What do they have in common? How do they differ? How to understand the place of any constituent in the big picture. We move on into that in week 10, where we examine the major categories of constituents. For the rest of the course, semester 1 and semester 2, we will start with a major category, and then we will discuss the subcategories and the important bioactive constituents in those subcategories. We'll also talk about not only their function, but their energetics, their contribution to the actions of the plant, their solubility, any kind of toxicological things we need to know about, etc. Week 10 is the carbohydrates, familiar from nutritional studies, but there are some herbal constituents that fall in this major category that's really important to understand. For example, we have your immunomodulating polysaccharides in herbs and medicinal mushrooms. We have oligosaccharides like inulins. We have organic acids like oxalic acid, very important to understand from a toxicological perspective as well as a functional perspective. What about nettle stinger fluid constituents? We bring in some real world examples of experiences and stories and plants that contain these constituents as we go along. Week 11 is devoted to lipids and their derivatives in medicinal foods and herbs like olive oil, flax seeds, crossing that line between foods and herbs. We look at some fatty acids that are important, some triglycerides, which are oil or fat molecules, some of those phospholipids like lecithin and cell membranes. And then there's an unusual group of constituents in this week called the alkamides, which are the tingly, buzzy compounds in echinacea and scleranthes. They're kind of hard to classify sometimes, but one of their precursors is a fatty acid type molecule, so they go in there with the lipids. You get to spend quite a bit of time with those because they're very important in herbal medicine. That moves us to week 12, amino acid derivatives. Again, a familiar term from nutritional studies, but there are some very interesting subcategories in here. First, we start with the glucosinolates, some of my favorite constituents. Glucosinolates and their metabolites are very important for detoxification, hormone balancing, prevention of abnormal cell growth, etc. Some of those metabolites are the ascending pungents. If you think about wasabi, they flash up and have antimicrobial and sinus clearing activity, so they can be really useful for the respiratory system as well. We also look at the sulfur compounds in your allium, so that's garlic, onions, leeks, etc., related to the glucosinolates, but a bit different. Also really important for various aspects of health. And that brings us to the cyanogenic glycosides. You may have heard of these. Raw elderberries, cyanogenic glycosides can release tiny amounts of cyanide, which most people can detoxify rapidly, but some people for genetic reasons don't. And so there are some safety concerns with cyanogenic glycosides. So we will look at them in the context of various herbs. What isn't a problem? What might be a problem? The toxicological aspects of those, and also the therapeutic aspects of them. Think wild cherry bark, a classic herb. There are a few other amino acid derivatives as well that we explore in week 12. And that brings us to semester 1 final exam. So if you're interested in getting your certificate, we ask that you pass the final exam. It's all multiple choice. It's all questions from previous quizzes. It's not tricky. If you don't want to get the certificate, you can just use that as another learning reinforcement tool. We try to make it fair and interesting and not stressful. And that's the basic outline of semester 1.
Yay, that's such a fun course. I love it.
I love teaching it, and we get such great feedback from our students. One of my goals with this course was to make the phytochemistry accessible and easy to understand, because face it, it can be a bit overwhelming and intimidating to dive right into chemistry. It's not necessarily everyone's favorite subject, but we've made it fun, we've made it interesting. We've made it much easier to make sense of while still keeping it scientifically accurate and detailed.
Yes, and Herbal Constituents Semester 2 holds the same 12-lesson weekly content pattern, further exploring additional categories such as polyphenols, terpenoids, alkaloids, and finally, herbal safety and toxicology. What else can attendees expect from Herbal Constituents Semester 2?
Oh my goodness. Well, really for both semester 1 and semester 2, we have the student forum or the portal where you can bring your questions and comments and observations and even post pictures of products that you've made. And it's really a way to build our community and also post your topic specific questions so that other students can also benefit from them. So that's a fun part. Everything is downloadable. We highly suggest getting your own dedicated hard drive so you can download all of the videos, the live webinars, the course materials, and you can save them forever. And you do have lifetime access to the course as well. So learning works better when we take multiple approaches and repetitions. So we've engage visual learning, written learning, interaction. You have full administrative support also. So if you have questions like, I lost my password, or how do I do this? How do I find this? Where did this go? Actual real people, not AI chatbots, will help you with all of those sorts of questions.
I love our live webinars where we cover weekly materials together, the PowerPoints, handouts, readings, research, etc. And we integrate time for answering your related questions. We alternate gathering times to meet the needs of folks with various schedules and time zones. And webinars will be recorded, so you will always have access to the content.
The live webinars are so much fun and very special to me because it gives us much more of a live classroom experience feel, which I think is super important because, face it, staring at talking heads on online classes can get a little dull sometimes. So having that interactive feel where we're actually in a classroom together, I think really helps a lot with the learning and also with the community experience.
Absolutely. I really do appreciate that aspect of this Herbal Constituents course to have the live webinars because it does feel like you get to know our community even better. It's very inspiring, and I really appreciate all the excellent questions.
Check out Herbal Constituents. If you have any further questions on the course, you are welcome to contact us. I'd be happy to answer them. I'm excited. Here comes another year.
Yay!
Yay! High five! High five! High five!